The Premier League is back this weekend and we have some really important games. A lot of things could be decided this week, or at least major things can change. We have a potential title decider. We have a game between two teams who are striving to get into the Champions League, and we could possibly see the first team go down to the Championship this season. So without any further ado, let us start with the most important or the biggest game this weekend. Manchester City are hosting Arsenal, and this is a potential title decider. There is no guarantee that this is going to be a title decider, to be fair, because anything can still happen after the game. Any of these teams could still drop points, but let's not pretend that this is not a very extremely important game for both teams. Now, City right now are in really good form. They've won their last three and they scored 9 goals in that time. And some of the teams they played in those three, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, they put 2 past Arsenal, they put 3 past Chelsea, and they put 4 past my dear Liverpool, which is very painful to say, but it's what it is. Now, on the other hand, Arsenal are not doing as great as they should be. In their last 5 games, they've lost 3 of those games, drawn 1, and also just won 1 of those games, which came in the 91st minute of the game. So in terms of how Arsenal are doing, it is not very great. And to also add to the worries about Arsenal, they've only scored 3 goals in their last 5 games, and 2 of them have come from open play. The other one was a penalty. So there are starting to be cracks in Arsenal's title race or final steps in this season. When you look at it also, they're also dealing with a couple of injuries. Saka is currently still unavailable. Who knows, maybe he might be back just before the game. Madueke went off in the game against Sporting at home, and Ødegaard is still facing fitness doubts. So in terms of fitness and creativity, it's not looking as great as they would like it to be. Now, another interesting fact is that Arsenal have not won a game at the Etihad in 11 years. The last time they won a game at the Etihad was in 2015. So it's not looking very great in terms of possibly winning based on stats, but this is football. Anything can happen. And another thing that's very interesting to point out is that when it comes to City, when it comes to the final points or the final few games of a season, they rarely ever lose. In fact, from the stats I've gathered, they've only lost 1 of their last 43 games towards the end of the season. Just 1 of 43, which is a crazy record. Now, City have been good recently, but they've also dropped points in some shocking manners. They dropped points against Nottingham Forest and they dropped points against West Ham. Now, those 2 teams are fighting to stay in the league, but at the same time, I think when you're looking at Man City and this time of the season, they should really be winning those games. So I'm trying to say that Man City are playing really well, but they've also really shocked us a couple of times, so you can never really tell what is going to happen. Now, I think Arsenal, personally, for me, I think they have to go into this game trying to win. It's not about going there to not lose, because if you go there to not lose, that means City have all the momentum and will be pushing and will most likely find a way to score a goal. So I think Arsenal really need to push. But I'm not sure that that's going to happen. And if that's the situation, if they don't go there trying to win this game, and let's be honest, like the way their mindset is, I see a world in which they're just going there to try not to lose. So my prediction is that I think City will put all the pressure, and there's a very high chance that City will win this game. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win to Manchester City. But like I said, anything can happen. Let's see how it goes. The next game I'm going to talk about is Chelsea hosting Manchester United. Now, this is a very important game in terms of UEFA Champions League qualification. And right now, we know that there are 7 points between Manchester United and Chelsea. Chelsea are in awful form. They've lost 5 of their last 6 games, which is not encouraging in terms of form. And they've also failed to score in their last 3 games in the league. This is not good at all. Maybe the only positive they have is that Enzo Fernandez is back from his suspension, so maybe that is a good sign. But they must start getting points because they are only 3 points above 11th place, which is not a good sign. And it means that anything can happen and they could see themselves drop from 6th this week if they do not win. Now, Manchester United, on the other hand, they've been doing really well under Mikel Arteta, but their last 4 games have not been as great as when he started. They've only been able to pick up 1 win in their last 4 games, and they lost shockingly at home to Leeds United for the first time in 45 years. But I still think they're the better team, although they're starting to show some cracks. And unfortunately for them, they have some injury worries as well, and suspensions as well. So it looks like the only fit centre-backs or available centre-backs for this game will be Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro. and Lenioro did not necessarily cover himself in glory in the last match against Leeds. So I see a world in which they might put Luke Shaw to play as a centre-back in this game, but we have to see. I still think, in general, United are the better team right now in terms of form and how they're playing football. So my prediction for this game is I do think that Manchester United will get the win, and I'm going for a 2-0 win for United over Chelsea. Next up, we have the Merseyside Derby. Liverpool are travelling to the Hill Dickinson Stadium for the first time ever. It is the first Merseyside Derby in this stadium, and it is going to be really, really big. Now, Everton would love to make this moment very remarkable for them, and they would like to do a very good job of spoiling Liverpool's party like they did last season at Goodison Park. Now, Liverpool have been in really, really poor form. They have won just one of their last 5 games. And also, when it comes to going away to play Everton, they've only won one of their last 10 matches going to Everton Stadium. So it's not looking very good in terms of away matches against Everton. Now, Everton are just 1 point behind Chelsea and looking to get into Europe. So a win for them could help them get to 6th if Chelsea fail to win. And that could also help them in terms of getting into the Europa League, also depending on Brentford's results as well. So Liverpool right now have won 1 game, like I said, from the last 5, and they're starting to have a few more injury issues. Unfortunately, Ekitike has gotten a serious injury and be out for a while. Wishing him a speedy recovery, and hopefully everything comes back well when he's back. But as a Liverpool fan, I really am hoping that Liverpool will be able to give a fight. I think it's going to be really difficult to get a win in this one. I personally want a 1-0 win, but I expect a draw, maybe 2-2. Or if anything, there's a world in which Everton win in this game. I'll probably beat Liverpool 2-1. But I personally want a 1-0 win for Liverpool. I'll take it because we need to go to the Champions League next season. Next up, we have Tottenham against Brighton. Now, this is a very interesting game because Roberto De Zerbi is now hosting his first ever game at home against his former team in Brighton. Now, right now, Spurs are really, really, really struggling. They are currently in the relegation zone and are 2 points from safety, which is insane to say or think based on the fact that these guys were in the Champions League final 7 years ago. But they're where they are now. Now they only have 3 wins in this whole 2026, and none of those wins have come in the Premier League. So they need to start picking up points, or else they will stay in the relegation zone and will be heading to the Championship next season. But they've lost their last 4 home games, which is not a good sign, while Brighton have won 3 of their last away games. So if there's anything based on stats and recent form, everything is pointing towards a Brighton win. Brighton have also been really good in their last few games. They have only lost 1 of their last 5, which was the game against Arsenal, which was a crazy goal to concede, but a win is a win for Arsenal. Brighton have been able to win 3 of their last away games, and interestingly, in the league, they've won 5 of their last 6 games. So in terms of how things are looking, everything favors Brighton in this one. I'm going for a Brighton win. I think they're going to end up winning 1-0. I personally want Spurs to stay up. I just feel like I have a soft spot for them and I would like them to stay in the league, but I don't see where the points are coming from in terms of their form, and Brighton are in really good form as well. So there's a world in which I see Brighton winning this game. Next up, I'm going to talk about Aston Villa against Sunderland. Now, Villa are doing so well in the Europa League, but it's not necessarily reflecting in the Premier League. There was a point where they were challenging for the title, and now they might even be dropping from 4th to 5th if results go against them. So right now they've only gotten 2 wins from their last 6 at home, and they're level on points with Manchester United. They could go up or down this week depending on how the other results go. Sunderland on the other side are currently 10th, but just 2 points behind Chelsea, which shows that their possibility of going to Europe is still very much possible. Now, they've won 2 of their last games in the league, which is also really good in terms of omens. So they'll be really thinking that they could get something in this one. My prediction for this one, despite Sunderland winning their last 2 and Aston Villa not being that great recently, I do think Aston Villa will fight and make sure they get a win in this one. So I'm predicting a 2-1 win for Aston Villa in this one. Next up, I'm going to talk about Brentford and Fulham. Now, these 2 teams, like I said, are still looking to hope for something in Europe. Brentford have drawn their last 5 games that have ended in 90 minutes. One of those 5 games, they ended up losing on penalties to West Ham in the FA Cup. But they are just 1 point behind Chelsea, and they have a chance of going to 6th position if they win this game and Chelsea somehow drop points. Fulham, on the other hand, have been able to beat Brentford in their last 3 matches against them, which is a good sign for them. But they haven't scored in 4 of their last 5 games in the league, so it's not looking very great in terms of Fulham's form. A win for either side will really help for their quest to Europe, so I'm going to predict that based on how things are going, based on who I think is a stronger team and who needs to start picking up points, Brentford need to be very careful because they've drawn their last 4 in the league. I think Brentford will go back to winning ways. I think they're going to end up winning this game 2-1. Next up, we have Leeds versus Wolves, and this is a very important game for both sides because this is potentially deciding their future in the Premier League. Leeds just beat Manchester United away for the first time in 45 years, and they're currently 6 points above the relegation zone, so they must be feeling a bit more comfortable. However, they would like to maintain that gap or possibly even increase it so that their safety is even more assured. Now, Wolves had a good spell of games. They had 2 wins and 1 draw until they lost to West Ham in the league 4-0, which was quite a shocking result based on how Wolves had been playing. But West Ham really were the better side and have been the better side and are actually playing decently. They've just not had the best results. So in terms of looking at how it is, right now for Wolves, it's just a matter of when they get relegated and not if they get relegated. And it could actually be this weekend based on the results that happen. I do think that Leeds are in better form and must be feeling really happy. I'm really confident. So I'm going for a Leeds United win. I think they're going to win 2-1 on the night. Next up, I'm going to talk about Newcastle against Bournemouth. Now, there are only 3 points between these two teams. I was saying last week that Newcastle have no distractions anymore. They're out of the Champions League, so they should be able to get the job done. But last week, they were leading against Palace, and they somehow lost this game 2-1. So it's been a really poor season in all ramifications for Newcastle United. But Europe is still possible because they're just 6 points behind Chelsea. And like I said, right now, Chelsea are 6th, which is a Europa League position. So it's looking really good for them. They're just 5 points behind Brentford as well. So a couple of good results and a couple of draws or losses for the teams above them would really put them in a good position to go into Europe next season, regardless of how poor their season has been so far. But Bournemouth are currently on an unbeaten run of 11 matches. And recently, they ended their drawing streak of 5 games by beating Arsenal at the Emirates. So they must be very confident. And Newcastle are winless in their last 7 against Bournemouth. So Bournemouth must be, with their tails up, hoping that they can get something in this game. However, I don't think any of these teams will win this game, and I'm going for a 1-1 draw for this particular game. Next up is Nottingham Forest against Burnley, and this is such an important game in terms of staying up and possibly avoiding relegation or getting relegated in general. Forest recently have started picking up form. They started winning games and drawing, and they're not really losing games again. In fact, they just beat FC Porto to make it to the semi-finals of the Europa League. So things are looking quite good for Nottingham Forest. On the other hand, Burnley are winless in their last 7 games, and they've lost 4 of their last 5 games as well. So I'm looking at both teams and who's looking confident, who looks like they have a chance to stay up, who's looking like they could possibly win this game. And I'm actually thinking that Forest are definitely the side who are stronger right now. So I'm predicting a 2-0 win to Nottingham Forest against Burnley. The final game of this game week is Crystal Palace against West Ham. Now, Palace have started to pick up form, although they just lost in the Conference League. But more importantly, they won on aggregate to make it to the semi-finals of the Conference League. And hoping that maybe winning the Conference League will help them get into the Europa League next season. The last time they played in the Premier League, it was against Newcastle, and they were actually losing, but Arteta saved the day, winning the game in the final few minutes of the game with a penalty. Now, like I said, they're into the Conference League semi-final, so that might be their route into Europe as well, which could be very interesting for the Premier League in terms of how many teams will be going to Europe next season. Now, West Ham must be feeling confident as well. They just beat Wolves 4-0, which is a fantastic result for them, taking them out of the relegation zone, and hopefully they can continue in that manner. Right now, they've also lost 1 in their last 5 games, so West Ham have only lost 1 of their last 5 games, so they must be feeling really confident. I think this one is going to be a tough one. And I think at the end of this one, I think West Ham and Crystal Palace would end up with a 1-1 draw. So that's it for my predictions for this particular game week. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree with my takes? If you do disagree, or if you do agree, let me know what you think in the comments. But before you go, make sure you like the video, share with a friend, and please subscribe. We're trying to grow this channel to make it as big as possible, and I'll really appreciate if you watching right now could be one of those people who could add to this family. Thank you so much for watching this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.